So my eyes and ears in Hollywood have seen Furiosa, basically. My eyes and ears in Hollywood have seen Furiosa. It test screened last night. And I know what happened in the movie. Anyone want to know? Just we want to know what happened in the film.
Yeah, cool. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Actually, very positive. It is very, very positive.
Is there a reason?
It was an internals test screening, you mean?
No, it's public test screening. So you can't ask these things anyway. I can't reveal too much because it jeopardizes my sources. For God's sake.
Okay.
Anyway, basically, it test screened, and I quote from my source: "It's effing brilliant."
Oh,
with an exclamation mark. It's different enough from Fury Road, but equally as stylish. It is lengthier than they expected, with an emphasis on building Furiosa's backstory. I would imagine and hope for that. However, being lengthier and things like that, it doesn't actually look like there is anything that they could cut out. It felt like a very tight film, basically. If they were to cut things out, relevancy to characters and things may kind of fall apart. It progressed the plot really nicely, so the pacing and structure worked, although it was longer than they expected. Chris Hemsworth is the standout as Dementus. Absolutely incredible. Steals the show. Flamboyant, dangerous warlord with a psychotic streak. He's the source of the film's more humorous moments and made for a very entertaining and very charismatic villain. So, yeah, great. Really, really great. And this individual notes that, yes, there are similar characters that unfortunately everyone likes to compare to Heath Ledger's Joker, and it sort of, falls apart a little bit as a comparison. However, my source does note that actually this comparison fits up very, very well in this instance, despite the overuse of that as a comparison. However, here's the interesting thing, and this is interesting. I think this is a budgetary issue, though. There's more CGI and green screen work this time around than Fury Road, but it is integrated with practical locations. So a seamless blend, hopefully. None of the visuals were 100% complete, though. This is an early test screening. The first half of the movie, so here's plot details. The first half of the movie follows Furiosa as a child. She lives with her people in a hidden oasis deep in the heart of the wastelands, but is discovered by invading scouts. Furiosa is abducted and taken across the desert, pursued by her mother, who proves to be a formidable warrior as she racks up a body count and tracks her child to the campsite of the warlord Dementus. A rescue attempt ends in tragedy, which more on that in a minute, and Furiosa is imprisoned and raised as a surrogate daughter by her captor, Dementus. So when Dementus and his horde attempt a very hostile negotiation for supplies with the neighboring sanctuary known as the Citadel, run by Immortan Joe, Furiosa is given as trade to Immortan Joe. She's meant to join her new master's harem as a child bride, so pretty brutal and disgusting, but manages to escape and remain hidden amongst the citizens of the Citadel. I really like Miller for going there on these pretty gross subjects. Like, he doesn't shy away from it. It's like, yeah, this guy's evil. He, shanks kids. Child bride. Anyway, so then we then meet her several years later as a young woman, now disguised as a boy, working as a mechanic for the Citadel's assault vehicles. It's here that she meets a noble road warrior and driver of the Citadel's new customized war rig, a man by the name of Praetorian Jack. He takes Furiosa under his wing, and the promise of training her and eventually giving her the skills and the tools to find her way home. The movie isn't as relentlessly paced as Fury Road, which I think is good, actually. I think it's a good thing. But the stylized violence and action-packed set pieces are still present and brilliant. There's a fantastic action sequence involving an attack on a heavily armored convoy that has some imaginative mayhem on display. The performances were terrific across the board, but Hemsworth definitely steals the show. And overall, my source thinks this is a very strong continuation of Miller's universe that fans of the series are going to love. Mad Max, is he in the film? Yes, has a very small cameo. You see him from a distance, overlooking the aftermath of a pursuit. It's a very fun little moment. It is only a little moment, but the entire audience were clapping. They loved it. because it's really, really good to see. It was just people loved it. There are several interesting characters introduced outside of all of this, so building up the lore, including an elderly gentleman called the History Man. He's dressed in white robes with writing tattooed across his face and body, and even writing on his clothing. He's the historian of the world before the fall and treated with high regard by Dementis, a la a sort of a wise old mystic, but has encyclopedic knowledge of random historical things. He urges young Furiosa to make herself invaluable to Dementis as a guarantee of safety. Dementis captures and tortures Furiosa's mother during the attempted rescue in the first half of the movie. And he then subsequently forces Furiosa to watch her mother burn alive. So brutal as Mad Max should be. Furiosa seeks vengeance against him, but lacks the opportunity to kill him due to Dementis gaining a position of power with Immortan Joe, because he's put in charge of one of Joe's factories that produces resources such as ammunition and fuel. The movie overall was a huge blast. Interestingly, though, the one thing my source found odd was that the character of Praetorian Jack almost feels like a Mad Max surrogate. But I would say that's not necessarily an odd thing when you listen to George Miller's interviews and things like that. He has alluded to Mad Max being a mythical figure in the wasteland, as in it's not a mantle per se or a person, but could be a legend which is passed on when someone does something nice. So Praetorian Jack, feeling a bit like a Max surrogate, could be playing into that nice lore building narrative. He is even dressed in a similar fashion, so it's probably purposeful in a subtle, nuanced way. The convoy attack has paragliding enemies with mounted machine guns taking out war boys. Miller tried to top himself massively, really tried to go for it, which I like the sound of that. Good. The only gripe, and bearing in mind this individual thought this film was effing brilliant, the only gripe was it looks like it's probably going to have a ton of CG and green screens, but blended with practical effects. And this individual also saw a Fury Road at test screening, so they're comparing it direct to Fury Road, and that was more practical and tactile. So when you're looking at that you can compare them one to one. I'm going to go to you, Andre. What do you think first? FYI, I'm looking forward to this. I have from the start. I'm keen on this. So that my input is, I'm very positive. I like the sound of all of this. I understand the gripes that, hey, why aren't you continuing Mad Max? Fine. I like the fact he's building out his universe. And if we get one more Mad Max film after this that is a Mad Max, I'll be happy. I don't care. It's fine. My thoughts. Andre, go. Sorry.
No, I'm largely in agreement with you. I actually tremendously enjoyed Fury Road. Now, of course, Fury Road came before the age of peak woke. So if I were to rewatch Fury Road right now, I may not have the same positive reaction to it that I did when I first saw it, because of the sidelining of the Max character. And this movie, of course, is more of that, which is why I think that this movie comes at the wrong time, in a sense, because now we've had, if we're frank, too many girl bosses in charge on screen and everything like that, which is detrimental to which I think is going to be detrimental to this movie. And that's unfortunate, because if there is one movie that I would be willing to give a pass, other than a Wonder Woman or a Black Widow or something like that, it's actually this one. It is a movie that I'm glad to hear that the test screening went well, and it's a movie I'm kind of excited about seeing. So in this sense, sounds good. But I don't think it's going to be that big hit, because I think many people have had it with girl bosses now, and deservedly or undeservedly, I think this movie is going to suffer from that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I would say, with all due respect, you're wrong. I disagree.
Yeah.
FYI,
And that's
because I've just gone to look at the trailer to remind myself how popular the trailer was. Basically, huge views on the trailer.
Yeah.
Quite
Maybe
a lot
I'm
of
wrong.
views.
Anyway, I'm personally, I'm excited about the movie. I just I just think that
Yeah.
after Madam Web, after the Marvels, it's just coming out at the wrong time. It's a movie that needed to come out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah, I agree and disagree. I think for anyone thinking this movie's going to bomb, for instance, I think I would draw your attention to Dune Part 2 trailer, for instance, getting 23 million views. Sure, fine, good amount. Some people think that's going to do gangbusters. Close to 1 billion. That was 8 months ago, that trailer, 23 million views. 2 months ago, Furiosa trailer released, and it's got 23 million views. So I actually think this will be a sleeper hit. I think people are really into it. I think they'll like it a lot.
Yeah, that could
Genuinely.
very well be. I hope so. I hope that the movie deserves it, because I'll be watching it day one, and unlike some other movies I'm watching day one, I'll be looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, because people will go back to, just to cut in before anyone else chimes in as well. People will go back to the amount of money it made. Worldwide, it was just under $400 million. 380 million. That was back in 2015, though. We are looking at 10 years ago. $400 million was considered a reasonable amount of money back then. It's not a blockbuster hit for sure, but it was enough to guarantee a sequel. So, and I think we're starved for good content. I think, yes, people will see girls and may think girl boss, but they'll also see Chris Hemsworth being a badass and go, cool, I want to watch that as well. Because there's something traditionally masculine about these films as well. Anyway, Tom, I know you're itching to say stuff. I can see you in the chat.
I ain't said nothing in a while.
Go on then. Say it now.
Well, you guys go ahead and have your Mad Maxy pad. I'm good. There's 3 Mad Max movies, and I don't agree with this bullshit about Max being some, person of the desert where somebody pays forward this night. Fuck that shit. There's one Mad Max. This is one of those occasions where a property needs to be saved from its creator. I don't need gender swapped Mad Max. We've already got one. He already got sidelined in the last movie. I'm sure people will be bamboozled by this one too. But at the time I saw it, I'm like, this sucks. There's no Mad Max in it. And people are like, oh, it's fucking amazing. It doesn't even feel like the same universe anyway. So whatever. I'm fine with the 3 movies I got. I'm good.
Fair. But if you actually follow the movies as they go, it doesn't make sense in terms of
Yeah, it
how
does
the world
actually.
develops.
Yeah,
It
it does.
doesn't.
2 and
How?
3
How?
definitely go together. They're the same character. Like, I don't get this. And they're definitely the same character. Otherwise, because then why is his leg hurt? This is just some nonsense
I'm not
that
saying
George
that. I'm
Miller
saying the
came up
world.
with.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the world, how the world fell apart so quickly. Tom, you said they went.
What do you
Come on,
mean?
how does it
Like,
make sense?
because the apocalypse, it happened within a matter of a few years. You see how fast our world fell apart in the last few years? Don't
But
take
when
long.
did it fall apart then? When did it fall apart?
In the movie, it was already starting to fall apart in Mad Max. They were already starting to take over the highways and stuff like that. That's the point. And then by the time you jump ahead to Road Warrior, which is probably supposed to be like 10 years or more in the future, because he already has white crap in his hair because they're trying to age him up and make him look older. It's pretty obvious. I mean, they have characters that reoccur and shit. It's not like it's not set in its same universe. He's just creating this bullshit in his mind.
Not set in the same universe. I'm saying linearly, the timeline is a bit all over the place.
Not really. I've never had a problem following it.
Well, it is if you look at the new one. It is if you compare with Fury Road. Anyway,
that's my point. It doesn't matter. As long as you keep Fury Road out of the equation, it's fine. This is a property that needed to be saved from its creator. I'm glad you guys liked Furiosa and Fury Road. That's great. To me, they're not even really Mad Max movies. They don't look like them. They don't feel like them. They feel like some rock music video. That's not Mad Max.
No, I'll give you that, but I think I don't necessarily think that's someone needing to be a property being saved from a creator. I think
Yeah, I
that's
do
actually,
because it was a proto woke.
know.
It was one of the first woke movies, and everybody overlooked it and still does to this day. Go back and watch that movie now and tell me it doesn't have all the same problems that every single movie that we've had for the last few years has had, where the main male lead gets sidelined literally for a female character who's overpowered and the answer to everything. And not only that, there's no plot to that movie. Nothing fucking happens for 2 hours. They drive in a straight line and then they turn around. That's it's so lame. It is so dumb. It just wants to be Road Warrior so bad. It's George Miller trying. It's when to me it reminded me of when a band is so desperate to recapture that old glory they once had. So they make an album that sounds almost exactly like one of their old ones, but guess what? It just comes off like you're trying to recreate a magic that you can't capture again. That's the way I feel about it. That's my personal opinion. If you guys like it, that's great.
Well, you'll be pleased to hear it doesn't feel like that. The new one feels better. So there you go. That's good, isn't it?
I'm not watching it.
I know you're not. Culture thoughts.
Okay. Well, I have some concerns. I was going to have concerns because I didn't enjoy the first film as much as I should have. I think a lot of the things that Tom kind of talked about, I agree with, as far as, we have a Mad Max movie with no real Mad Max. And this film didn't make enough money to, even in today's dollars, particularly in today's dollars, when you adjusted for inflation, to have justified making a second one. The $369 million that it made back in 2015 are worth about $481 million today because of the 30.1% cumulative inflation rate. And that's the case, and you adjust the production budget back then of $150 million. This thing did not justify.
Well, they do get a 30% film tax incentive, and sometimes 40 actually from Australia, because they filmed it all in Australia.
And that's great and wonderful and all of that.
I'm just saying that actually it would have made money, is the point I'm trying to make, because the production budget would actually have been nothing, because a 40% tax back from Australia, that's pretty bloody big.
Well, is it on Australian dollars?
No, because they filmed it in Australia, so you get 40%.
Okay, so maybe it did make a little bit of money, but again, it like I said, ultimately, this is not a film that, after marketing, would have made all that much money. And what surprises me is how little it made in domestic video sales to date, because to date, between DVD and Blu-ray, it's like sitting at $56 million. That's not where you would think it would be. Popularity in film is one thing. But I think that this film, despite the number of people who viewed the trailer, may underperform. Now, does it sound like it's going to be a bad film to me? No. It sounds like it probably is going to be better than the first film, which I, will agree didn't have a whole lot to it. I'm looking forward to seeing it and reviewing it, and good or bad, I will review it. So it is, I kind of take that as a job. It's a responsibility doing what I do. So it's why I go and see a lot of stuff, including I'm going to go see Dune. What did I just say? I'm going to go see Dune there. In just a little over 2 hours, or just a little under 2 hours. Actually, not even that long. An hour and a half. I'll be watching this film again. So,
go on then, Nick.
I kind of have to agree with Tom on this one. I mean, at the end of the day, all these movies are all subjective. Different strokes for different folks. I also was not a fan of the first one. From what you're describing on the second one, sounds like it might be maybe a little bit better than the first one. From the people that saw it, seems like they enjoyed it. For me, man, give me Mel Gibson Mad Max all day, every day. I'm not that excited about this movie. I'll probably watch it, but I'm not going to pay to go watch it in the theater. I mean, I'll probably wait till it comes out on HBO Max or some other streaming service that I have free access to. We'll probably check it out then. But yeah, it's just kind of man for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough, ladies and gents. Fair enough. We will shuffle on. We've got a super chat from Mr. Darkinson again for $10. Thank you so much. Says, thanks for the tip about the super chat link. Cheers. Says, about the thing that is happening in Hollywood, it transcends any form of nepotism that I know of. No kinship should excuse turning multi-million-dollar productions into a total turd that almost no one watched. I know, I agree. I'm not saying nepotism's good. But you say it transcends any form of nepotism. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it is. I think it is still a form of nepotism. I mean, those people, those showrunners, say the showrunners of Rings of Power, for instance, they had never been showrunners before, ever. They literally only got that job because J.J. Abrams called up Amazon Prime for them. That's it. That's how they got the job. So they got the job by nepotism. They might be staying in it because they're going to be the fall guys, maybe, who knows? But they got it through nepotism. I mean, why would you give two people a showrunning job that have never been showrunners before on the highest budget IP, over $1 billion or whatever? Like, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, they did it because of nepotism. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Nepotism is run rampant in Hollywood. It's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
That's why when guys like Timothy Chalamet happen and stuff like that, it's a bigger deal. And when we say they're actual movie stars, whether you like them or not, because they were made naturally, right? People gravitated towards them instead of them trying to shove them down our throats like Jai Courtney or, Zendaya.
Yeah.
And I know those two are in the same movie right now, and that's a problem. But yeah. But I was doing a little research here because I was trying to find exactly when and how long they were there. But to answer your question from earlier, the apocalypse happens basically about 10 years between Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome. 10 to 15 years, because basically the kids in Thunderdome have been there since the apocalypse started, because the pilot took off with the families as it was starting, and they've been there that long. So it's like 10, 15 years or whatever it is. So that's about how long the apocalypse had been going on at that point. So I told you, it doesn't take long for shit to fall apart.
Well, no, I know our society would fall apart, that's for sure, pretty quick.
Yeah, like society apparently is 9 meals away from falling apart at any given time.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, if all men disappeared tomorrow, the entire world would fall apart. Genuinely. Yeah. People don't realize that when people are like, yeah, what good are men? They're essential for civilization, actually.
Well, I mean,
literally all infrastructure, men.
Sanitation, electrical, immediate
nuclear power plants, you really miss the man who manages those if they were to disappear tomorrow.
Yeah. We got another super chat from Will Fleming. Says Road Warrior, has been superseded because of Fury Road. A 2-hour car chase was always Miller's intent. It's the last time I felt the power of cinema again. We still got the original trilogy buds. Action has to mean something in a film. Miller nailed it. So just an opposing view there.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Will. Appreciate that.
Well, I'm not going to take away the technical achievement that the first film was, but to me, it was just a bunch of eye candy at the end of the day. But yeah, like you said, we got the original 3, so.
Fair enough. Right, well, let's shuffle on because we've got some...